Hello and welcome to The Corner. I'm your host, Yvonne Kadzo. Now, you see, this second season of The Corner, it has been all about, speaking the unspoken, kuambiana ukweli, and facing the ugly truth about relationship that we face in our daily lives. But I couldn't do it all by myself. And today, we are taking a look at the journey that we've had on our second season of The Corner. Remember, you can also send in your comments via our SMS line, that is 2316, or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. For those watching us on YouTube, karibuni sana. Feel free to like, comment, and share. Now, let's see how we've been doing on this second season of The Corner. If one is in that process or in that journey of soul tie, is it possible to have two soul ties or even more? Or it's just that one person?
What I'll say, it's possible for you to have soul ties even with 10, 20 people. It just depends on how many people, especially if they're sexual. If you've slept with 20, 30 people, 100, you have 100 soul ties. If it's 200, it's 200. Well, I'm giving big numbers so that people can know this is not a joke.
Personally, I have experienced, but I'm open to say I've had so many, not so many, but a few connections with people, and it took a long time to disconnect from them because once I engage with them, they leave a footprint, and the print, you cannot just get rid of the print hivyo mara moja. You have to take time, like you inherit characters from them, you also inherit behaviors, pattern of behaviors comes from certain people.
How did you notice it? Like, you realized this is not normal, this is...
So what happens, let me give a practical example.
Sure.
I used to see someone, and this someone we engaged, not only physically. So before I engaged, that is, I want to bring out the connection now.
Yeah.
I have the willpower, the mind, and the emotion. First of all, the eye sees, they connect to the mind.
Yes.
The mind translates what I'm feeling, which results to emotions. And then from the emotion, I have the willpower to say no or yes. So for instance, if I met Judith, I will see, the mind will translate to emotions. The emotion will either say yes or no. So after I made the connection, we became so close. We did one or two things which, which normal people in a relationship with this age do. And by the time I was heartbroken, I came to realize it's not so easy to get rid of this person. That is why I always had that connection. Even to date, it's not that easy. Once I meet that person, I'll be able to connect with them, with her so fast.
Either these soul ties are related to a partner, sexually, or it's physically, or even friendship, because friendship can also have soul ties. What are the steps that one can take to break them?
I think the first thing is to look at it at a physical level. So you have to make a choice, you have to make a decision to begin to keep away from that person. Meaning that if you can reduce or totally cut off communication to allow yourself then to begin to find yourself again. I think that's the most important thing that needs to happen first. Then the second thing is to look at, now we're approaching it from the physical, and then the soul, and then the spirit. Then at the soul level, one, you have to allow yourself to grieve the emotion because you knew this person, you love them, just like they have said. It's difficult to let go, but you have to allow yourself to grieve. You have to allow yourself to mourn. It is a loss because this is someone who was dear to you, and you have to let go of them. So allow yourself to grieve. Then thirdly, now that comes to the place of evaluation, where you try to remember your own identity, because what usually happens with soul ties is your identity gets lost in this whole thing. You actually forget who you are. So it's important for you to begin now, get to the place of finding your own identity again. The other thing that gets messed up is your ability to see other people correctly. Because it's possible, because of something that you had experienced before, then you give up on relationships. Like you were saying, it becomes difficult. So you have to reevaluate yourself and think about yourself again, find your identity again. When you find your identity, it becomes easier to connect with another person again because you're coming from the place of confidence.
Now you didn't cheat on your husband.
I don't have one.
But you now cheated with someone else. Maybe you can share that with us.
So mine was kind of a choice. I just chose to get to play along with this married man, because I felt over the years the people who would approach me mostly were the married people. So I'm like, in Corona time hakuna kwenye watu wanaenda, so let me just play along and sitaisha, because they kept on telling us after 3 months sijui tutaondolewa curfew nini, ondolewa lockdown. So I thought in my mind that after everything sintarudi job place mbali kwenye nilikuwa naendanga, but fortunately dad put a job for me karibu na hiyo place tu, hapo tu penye the guy who was now courting me ilikuwa. So ilikuwa obviously ngumu. I didn't see the future. I didn't see ever coming out of a community yenye nimelelewa juu na mekewa job, so everybody's talking about it. Hey, we amekewa kazi, so we shamoka and that's it. So nika relax in the process, but I learned a lot of lessons. Ukianza kudate mse married, unaonanga like he's the next level for you. This person will take you out, we do this for you, we doing this for you. But the approach they come with ni my wife is so bad, she does this, I don't like it, you are even the most beautiful person I've ever met, and I fell for it unknowingly.
Did you ever question him, like, okay, if your wife is this bad, why are you still with her?
Okay, they kept telling me, because it's not one person.
Oh, okay.
They kept telling me that tutaachana next year kwanza tajanzalia kijana. Say like tuvitu kama utoto. He keeps on giving you a hope and itaikuja kuwa true. You know, like you're dating, kudate mse married nikaa kudrive a government vehicle. Hiyo gari itakuwa yako. Tutajuanga ile gari tunakuonanga lakini si yako.
At what point did you have a discussion with your wife about your infidelity during that time?
Every time I used to cheat on my wife, there's this thing that we developed during our courtship. We used to be very good friends. So anything I did, I told her. I used to tell her. Yeah. Even when I used to cheat, nilikuwa namwambia leo nimefanya ujinga fulani. You see that thing, kwa sababu in our marriage there is this thing that tumeweka, we are friends before even anything else. We are friends. Ukiona issue unaniambia, nikiona issue ninakuambia. So for me it was easier for me kumwambia, and the reason why nilikuwa namwambia it was because sikuwa nikitaka.
Okay.
Yani you are trying to get out of this one, unataka akusaidie vile utamaliza, but kesho yake unajipata umerudia the same things. The same thing. So for me the point of discussion I think ilikuwa kama daily, because I used to cheat daily.
When umejipata hapo umekuja find out 3 months later this guy is married actually. Try to fight so much. Chukua slippers utoroke. Run. This person will ruin your life, your career, and you never ever have the time for you. You'll always think about this other person. Na atakumit time ya anataka, siwe time unataka. You know, hautaikuwa hadi free. You never be free.
I have learned that God restores.
Yeah.
It is possible for you not to cheat, even though maybe umekuwa kwa hiyo shida. When you're committed to your partner, your wife, God will open a lot of doors for you. Vitu hata hujawahi fikiria. So I think those are the most 3 basic lessons zenye nimelearn from my own experience.
Being in this journey of being a single parent, if we can start with Maggie, what are maybe some of the challenges that you have faced along the way in being a single parent?
I would say maybe your child asking you questions which are a bit tricky. Like now, considering like my daughter, she will say, when am I having a baby brother? When am I having? When are we having a new dad? At least she now, I think she's now a bit bigger. She understands these people are not together. You know, so she's like, "Mommy, are we ever going to have a new daddy?" So like so I always tell her, you know what? Not now, but when it happens, we have to wait. We have to be patient until God provides that person.
You know, in social media we have a lot of parents, and we have social media parents, So, like, whatever you do to a kid, you want me to do to my kid. You know, the way I treat my kid. It's like we have a lot of parents on social media, experts. So that is one of the biggest challenge I have some of the time. It's like, don't do this to her. Try to do this. Try to find somebody.
You just can't be called a parent. You have to plan, you have to think, you have to implement, you have to do so many things in as far as bringing up that child is concerned. So is the young single parent purposeful? Are they so committed to the well-being and the welfare of their child? When they do that, I think it will be easy for them to overcome this. Of course, I am holding away all the stigma, all the stereotype of the society. I'm assuming that they are living in a world that is okay.
Okay. Being young people, what are some of the cultures that maybe you've come to know and you're like, huh? Is this happening, or you don't understand about it?
Social media amplifying everything and making the world literally like a small village, as they say.
Yeah.
So I think that has been the biggest game changer in terms of culture, because social media has allowed us to see very different culture and interact with people of different culture and also learn new culture over the internet. Yes.
Yeah. What is the difference, or where do we draw the line between culture and faith as Christians?
Now, maybe I would use the example of Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ was made manifest in bodily form, we all know that he was born within a Jewish culture.
Yeah.
He grew up as a Jew, went to the synagogue as required. But one of the things that you discover about Jesus as you read the gospel is that Jesus understood who he was essentially. Number one, Jesus knew that he was only there to manifest, but he had an assignment from God the Father. So much as you'd see Christ going about, living that Jewish culture and doing everything that a Jew would do, one of the things that you realize about Jesus is that he always went against the grain, especially when there were certain practices that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the rabbis insisted that were contrary to the word of God. So, there is nothing wrong, growing up in a Luya culture. There's nothing wrong growing up in a Sheng culture. There's nothing wrong growing up in ghetto. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Provided whatsoever you're doing, if at all you're a Christian, if you're born again, that is if at all I'm assuming that we are, or if you're a, should I say nominal Christian? I may not really know. It's really a matter of choice. Whatever you do should actually be consistent with your Christian values. And anything that goes contrary to that, then you have every right to say no.
Okay. Yeah. That is very true. Yeah.
What if those Christian values, you have questions about them? What if at some point you sort of outgrow and think that maybe this doesn't work for me anymore? Is there anything wrong with that?
Okay, maybe you could give me an example so that I know. If you don't mind, just an example.
I don't have an example up top, but I have met people who say that I prescribe to this part, but now this other part, it doesn't work for me any longer. And this doesn't mean that it is compromising my faith, because I still believe, but maybe some other practices, maybe I'm not comfortable with.
Okay, let me put it this way. You remember me saying that culture is not static. Even, we have what you call Christian culture, but even the Christian culture itself is not static. Like there are things that Christians used to do in the 60s. I've heard that from my parents, that they don't do right now. In fact, my dad would actually say that, he no longer ascribes to that. Things like mode of dressing and so on and so forth. Even music, when you look at the kind of music that used to be sung in churches, in the past, guitars were not allowed. But you see, in this modern day, guitars are allowed, because you see, at the end of the day, it's not really about the instruments. It's not even about the mode of dressing. It's about who you are intrinsically. And when you look at the example of Jesus Christ, Jesus was not out to condemn people. A good example is that when Jesus meets Zacchaeus, whereas every other person was calling him a wicked person, Jesus tells Zacchaeus, why don't you come down from that sycamore tree? I want us to fellowship. Now, we do not know what kind of conversation they had, but later on we find that Zacchaeus decides, you know what, I'm going to return back whatever I took to people. So it's not really a question of whether this fits for you or not. If you feel that a particular practice is inconsistent with what you feel as a person, and provided it doesn't violate the fundamental principles of the Word of God, well and good.
Now let me tell you, when you find good people, please keep them. Having said that, please keep us. We are taking a short break, but we'll be right back. Keep it Family TV.
Tomorrow on She, it's gonna be the season finale. And as Family Media celebrates 23 years on air, we take a short trip down memory lane. What is your first show like?
I remember being so shy on camera. My eyes kept blinking.
And we sampled some of the conversations you loved.
A woman is the most powerful creature. Let's have hard and difficult conversations. Let's get intimate without getting into me.
Don't miss out.
It's tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
What comes first? Is it the value or the lifestyle? Like I find people, this is every weekend we need to go out or we do A, B, C, and D. What comes first?
When you're born into this world, you're born and brought into a family that builds up and becomes a community, that builds up and becomes a society. Having said that, it means that your first point of contact is the family. So in this case, it's your parents or guardians or caregiver. It is those people who will now instill certain behaviors in you. And those are now the values. You know, the value of what? Respect, honesty, justice. So that comes first. And the thing about values, once it is instilled and continuously practiced, then it is that much more embedded in the psyche of the individual. Thereby, even as this young person grows and develops into an adult, and they come to this world, as much as it's the lifestyle, you know, like I know right now, one of the biggest lifestyle changes is the aspect of social media. Okay? So when you, for instance, we pick a value like, let's say, honesty, you will know when to stop. When it comes to social media, in as far as what truths or falsehoods you're putting out there. So you'll be very careful in that regard. So values come first. And I feel your value systems will influence how you live your lifestyle.
I'd just like to add to that with you know, that's the ideal situation. And unfortunately, now, you know, in reality, we find that there are so many young people whose lifestyles change what they stand for and the values that they have grown up believing in. Because now you grow up, now you are away from your family and you're starting to, you know, in the process of discovering yourself, trying to define who you are, trying to create a space for yourself in this world. And in that process, as you interact with other people on social media, you get to interact with opposing points of view, opposing perspectives compared to what you grew up knowing. So now you find many young people now in the process of experimenting with, you know, I've never met, you know, I didn't know I can do this. Let me try do this. And again, right now we have, recently in the country we had this thing of wash and all these young people living flashy lifestyles. And that is, you know, you find so many people are now pushed to compromise on their values to make it in life at whatever cost. And not just young people, even find even older people.
Even older
because now things like career, you know, what would you do for money? What would you do to get money? Would you get it at whatever cost, or would you stick to your values and say, you know, to maybe compromising what you believe in?
So this guy, I will see future with him because he was my first boyfriend. You know,
first love.
So anani promise all the world, Maldives and everything. You're going to go. So nikajipata nimeingia in a toxic relationship, but I was not aware that it was the toxic because that person was a very bad narcissist. Angenigonga. Anigonge,
like physically beat you.
You have watched my video on YouTube.
Yes.
I had some a very bad black eye. Alikuwa amenigonga. Now, because I was so young, I knew that this guy would change, of which I never knew that once violent, always violent. I never knew. And I never had that person who is close to me at least would advise me. I ever saw like my friends ni wabaya. You're in that point, you go and share with someone and they tell you, achana na yeye. So I thought that my friends ni wabaya. And that thing would continue again and again, nikamaliza form 4. And now because my mama alikuwa ameniambia, Sharon sitaki kukuona na huyu kijana tena. What I did is nilipotea home nikaenda kuishi na yeye.
Okay. So now it's even worse. And the beating, the physical abuse, did it start immediately or maybe a few months into the relationship?
I think it's that ni vile si kujua vizuri, but I guess ilikuwa the very first red flag. Ni vile si kujua because we would argue kwa simu and then akola nibe mbona niongelesha vibaya hivyo, but si kujua ni red flag. I never knew that this person is toxic.
There is this thing called gaslighting. People just hear about gaslighting. If maybe you can shed light on it.
You see, there are those people who, like, you know, they are provoking. They want an argument. So they will keep on provoking. They want a fight. And so they will begin an argument for anything.
Yes.
For example, they will, you come home and they ask, where were you? And you explain, I was traveling, I was going to such and such a place, and the person says, no, you're cheating on me. So they already have a mindset that I'm the judge, I have passed the sentence. So you're not coming to explain anything. They are coming to prove you guilty. So there is never a time you will win. Now, if you try to explain more, the more they get deeper into blame. So they get into this thing of accusation after an accusation. There will never be a time where you will feel like you have, for example, won.
Okay.
So they throw you into what we call into the defensive. Always defensive mode. So even when you yourself, for example, they come from wherever they have come from, they may look around the house. Does it mean I think there was somebody in the house?
Yes.
So they're just trying to light up something so that they can have a small fight. Or why is your hair looking like somebody touched it?
Okay. Yeah.
During the pandemic, it was hard. I was grieving. I lost my mom in 2019, then the pandemic hit. Nilikuwa naendelea vizuri, and then there's the part of grieving, where you get to unajieka peke yako, unajificha. Then by the time unarudi, kumechange. As she's saying, she's doing well on TikTok and stuff. Misa nilikam nikapata, kumbizi ma TikTok zilishika. Instagram squeezing ni reels, because I was off the grid for like 3 years.
Wow.
So when you come back, watu wanafanyanga hivi. This is what you're supposed to do. Unapata dunia ma ring lights, nini. So nilikuwa nimeshtuka. But nikaka, then I started falling in love with the designing, just crafting things. And I was getting positive responses on Instagram. Unapata mse yako France anakuambia like that.
Wow.
So nafikiria sasa itafikaje France. Hizo ndio sasa shida zangu sasa.
I remember there's a time I did a TikTok live, and now in this, I was just bored in the house, and I said, you know what, let me just do a live. So I did the live. So this person comes and he requests, you know how you can join in on someone else's live?
Yeah.
They join. And then they start asking me, they're not Kenyan, I could pick that. And then they start asking me, how old are you? Why are you not married?
I mean,
no, right?
Was the video about marriage? No.
So they start asking me, you know, I feel like you're doing bad. You're supposed to be a wife to someone. You're supposed to be somewhere. Do you know, I just told him, what's your problem? Like, why is my marriage such a bother to you that you have to come to my life in my time to tell me about my marriage?
Yeah.
You are the problem. I am not the problem. So how I deal with that is, you are the problem, I'm not the problem. Once you understand exactly whose you are, and his validation is what validates you, oh, my friends, you will have a tough head, thick skin. Because they will come and try to tell you, oh, you should be smaller. You know, because me, being a plus size model, I was told, no, have you ever seen a big girl on the screen? But then when I grew up and now went to high school, people were like, oh, Sheila, your walking style is so different. Oh, Sheila, I love how you carry yourself. I was like,
the model in you.
You were the one who was on the wrong. You might have damaged me in my youth, in my younger years. But now, God is actually showing me now exactly why he did that.
What advice can you give to a young person out there dealing with all this, you know, self-esteem issues?
Yes, like I said, try and answer those 5 questions. Number 1, who am I? That's your identity. Where am I from? That is your source, your provision. You know, who is that? What is that source that sustains you? Number 3, why am I here? What is my assignment? What is my purpose? I was created for a purpose. I was intentionally made by God to be here. Find out. If it takes the rest of your life trying to find out, you find it out. Because then you will get peace. Number 3, what am I able to do? Like he said, what can you do? Am I good with hair? Am I good with makeup? Am I good with speaking? Am I good with... What are you good at? Because God has hidden in all of us our special abilities. And your special abilities are the ones that are going to help you find your purpose in this life. And then finally, where am I going? I always tell people, eternal life is for all of us. Eternal life is for all of us. The question is location. So are you going to go to heaven or are you going to hell? The decision is yours.
I honestly didn't know I had a problem until 2015. Because most of my problems, I solved them with alcohol. So, and I'm also the bubbly kind of person. So I'll be laughing with you now, but when I'm alone is when I feel a bit off. But still, I would solve everything with alcohol. So it wasn't until when I got to get treatment, actually. And actually, I went to get treatment for alcohol use disorder, not depression. Then that is when the underlying conditions came about. And that is when now I was able to connect. Like in 2011, I had attempted suicide. But the interesting thing, I was the kind of person who used to make fun of people who died by suicide. And I was telling people, I can't do that. And yet I had done it. And since nobody, especially outside the family, knew, it was kept under wraps, you get.
I was in campus. So many things were happening at the same time. You know how all the storms come and they meet right at the center. And I think I was losing it. I was working, but I couldn't even get myself to get up in the morning. I hated getting up. I couldn't shower. I couldn't clean up. And if you know me, that's not me. I was just feeling lazy. And then I used to have continuous migraines that would not end.
What advice can you give to a young person out there who's probably, you know, going through the depression at this moment?
I think for me the first thing is to really get a good understanding of what depression is. So for me is one, to know more about it. Depression also affects your activities of daily living. You have to be resilient. How do you cope with life? And in that regard, I want to mention the 5 key areas of resilience. We've got the emotional, the psychological, physical, spiritual, and social. And so we should purpose as much as possible to ensure that these areas are well balanced.
By the time an episode goes on air, obviously our editors have worked on it. And, you know, we usually have very funny moments behind the scenes and we have bloopers. On this day is the day that we usually share those kind of clips. Take it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound check. We good? We good? Okay.
Hello, 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 hello.
Welcome to The Corner, a free space where we discuss any matter. Sorry. Well, apparently, you know, we were facing all the topics that we need to look at, which Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, same place, same time. I'm your host, Yvonne Kadzo. Dun dun! Oh, the rain, you can rain! I want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to all our viewers back at home, and also for those who have been following us on YouTube. Asanteni sana. To our partners, asante sana for making sure that you support us and being able to touch different lives almost every day. And last but not least, I want to thank our guest. Maze, you guys have been amazing. The fact that you create time for us, you know, you make time for us, and you also come here and share all the amazing stories and insights on different topics. Asanteni sana. May God bless you in each and every way. And we are done.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.